Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the PCLSN pod. Anthony Sorgi, Pat Birkhead alongside Post Philly Live. Pat, long weekend. It is over. Little bit bittersweet. How are we feeling?
Feel good. I think we had good coverage of the event. We were at almost every PCL game through both of the weekends. So I personally got to see every PCL team except Ghost, and I think we learned a lot in the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, we've learned a ton, and we'll talk a lot about that as we go on. Um, but let's get straight into it, starting with, I think, the story of Philly Live 2. Rowan Phillips, an absolute dominant weekend. Pat, he picked up offers from Pitt and Villanova in the past 24 hours. Thoughts on Rowan?
Yeah, we saw him. I saw him twice, and he was really unbelievable in both. I think he combined for around 60 points, and it's just kind of obvious that he's probably the best scorer in the Catholic League. Um, his shot looks good. He gets to the rim and he can put Wood on his back for stretches even without Lundy in the game.
Yeah, I'd agree. Without Caleb Lundy, that was, I think, a big story of the weekend. Was no Caleb Lundy. We'll see if he's back playing now with New Heights, AAU, this coming weekend. But really intrigued to see how Wood does with him. How dynamic of a duo do you think those two will be?
Yeah, I think Caleb Lundy, we've seen him last year with Brady McAdams and it worked really well. They had almost an undefeated regular season and then got to the Palestra. So we know that Caleb Lundy can work well with another guy that wants to score the ball. And I think Rowan Phillips, obviously his recruitment, he has some bigger offers than Brady did. Brady was more experienced last year, but I think it's going to work really well. Lundy can play the true point guard role. He's a good passer. He sets people up, and he's also a great shooter, so they can really stretch the floor.
Well, let's roll right into Archbishop Wood as an entirety of a team. How about Jaden Jenkins, Michigan State offer? Offensively, I think Jenkins, I don't want to say struggled, but played more similarly to how he did last year. I feel like offensively we didn't see a ton of growth, but defensively, he was blocking just about everything that came his way. What were your thoughts on Jenkins this weekend?
Yeah, I thought he looked better this weekend than Philly Live won. As you mentioned, the shot blocking is always going to be there. He even in the beginning of the game against St. John's hit like a short jumper, which was good to see.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He shot a three. He didn't shy away from it, so I kind of like that he's confident in that. I'm sure he'll be working on it all off season to try to expand his game. But once he gets, stronger inside, he was going up against the guy from St. John's is also really big, so he'll have I think a few more mismatches in PCL play. Not everyone's gonna have a 6'10" guy like St. John's did, but yeah, I think it'll be more of an advantage.
Two other guys that I thought really stood out for Wood, Dylan Powell and Malachi Warren. Powell hit that game tying shot to send it to overtime. How do you feel about those two? We know Powell has some offers. Do you think that both of those guys are going to be D1?
Yeah, I think Dylan Powell was really impressive with Caleb Lundy out. I think he probably stepped up the most for Wood playing point guard. Versus St. John's, he had 10 assists. So seeing him do that, then he hits the big shot at the end. His game is like really coming into its own, and he's a really fun player to watch because he's so fast and athletic. So he's super exciting for Wood. And then Malachi Warren, I think he's great because he plays his role. He's playing with, four D1 guys once Lundy's back. And he just helps the team in whatever way he can. He knocks down threes. He's still scoring like double digits. So I think he's going to be a really impressive player to watch too, and gives them a little bit more depth along with Kyan Strong off the bench. We saw Pat Breslin come in and knock down a three. So I think Wood definitely has a little bit of depth too.
Yeah, I'd agree there. Next, I guess let's take it to the team that's being called the winner of the weekend. Father Judge, very, very solid weekend for them. My personal star of the weekend for Judge was Corey Copeland. What do you think about like who you have as the top player this weekend?
I mean, yeah, when we saw them yesterday, he looked unbelievable. He had the game winner. He had, I think 17 or 18 points, and he almost looked like the best player on Judge as just a sophomore, which is super impressive. So I think I would agree with you there. Nas Tyler did his thing. I think Jeremiah Adedeji is kind of hitting like the next level in his game. He looks more athletic. He looks faster. So I think I would go with Copeland or Adedeji. I was really impressed with um, the forward, so I wouldn't be surprised if his recruitment starts to ramp up a little bit. I thought he looked really good.
Yeah, I'd agree. In Copeland, I know he's young, but like still wouldn't be shocked if we saw an offer or two for him, kind of, or a verbal offer at least, right? Come in early. Would not shock me one bit. Um, what do we think about Judge playing freshmen in their game? It seems like that's something that they like to do consistently. That I think was a story of the weekend for them. We saw a couple different guys get in. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we saw Tice Harbin get in. He is definitely going to be a really good player someday, and it worked for them this year. They played Amir Brown and Corey Copeland, and they won the Catholic League. So if they can continue to still win, but play freshmen and give them experience, like I think we already saw it paying off with Corey Copeland this weekend. It looked like he belonged on a varsity court. So it's almost like giving them a jump start to their development. Like I think those guys have to be patient. Like we saw times when Corey Copeland didn't look the best. Amir Brown didn't look the best at times, but they persevered through it, and it's going to really help them later down the line. So I think that can be the same case with guys like Harbin.
Do you think that there's any concern? I'm just thinking about this as we're talking. That you could see guys like Amir Brown who transferred out. Do you think you could see something like that? Where is there any concern you have about? Okay, well maybe a guy plays his freshman year and gets good playing time, but can have a bigger role at another school.
Um, it's an it's interesting. I feel like Amir Brown could be an outlier because I think a lot of freshmen are going to be happy with the program they're at if they're playing as just a freshman. Um, and then this year you have more starters graduating. Last year you had three. This year you have Nas Tyler, Rocky Mason, and Jeremiah Adedeji all graduating. So there's going to be roles to fill. I think like the high school transfer portal is kind of reality now. Like there's going to be
Yeah.
transfers. You can't stop that. For what reason? I think it's a little bit different for each player that decides to do that, but it could happen. It could make guys more happy with the program because they're already getting time when other freshmen are playing JV. So,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that these 2030s honestly like have no reason to leave Judge. Just considering that like next year you talk about that, right? You know, you have Ray, you have Corey, but outside of those two, right, those other spots are going to be pretty much up for grabs.
mhm.
So I think that that is something that'll be interesting to see. And I think that transferring out of Judge, in certain situations it makes sense, but for these 2030s, I don't see a reason it would make sense just considering the situation they have there. And winning program, Chris Rowntree has done an incredible job as head coach. So yeah, I think Judge is in a really good spot. Let's take it next to Newman Goretti. We talked about Amir Brown, 23 points, Pat, against Christian Brothers yesterday. What have you seen from the Saints this weekend?
Yeah, I think I saw their first game against Bergen Catholic too, and they lost pretty handily, but like that was the first game Amir Brown played with the team. That was the first game Eric Green played with the team, and they both started. So I'm not going to give them a pass on that one, but would it have been a closer game if they all played together at Philly Live 1? Maybe. Um, and then the next day, Amir Brown looked unbelievable. Um, he scores at all three levels. His jump shot, I told you, it looks like unblockable. Like he can get it off from anywhere whenever he wants, and it goes in a lot. He's super athletic, and he's the tallest guy on Newman Gretty right now. So obviously, I asked him, he's not a traditional big, but he knows how important it is, and we saw him do it to block a few shots every game. and help protect the rim. So he's going to be great for Newman Gretty for the next 3 years if he stays there. And I think that might be, maybe aside from Rowan Phillips, the biggest transfer in the Catholic League.
How much pressure do you think there is on Newman to win a championship this year, just considering it's been a few years since they got one?
Um, I think getting Amir Brown almost like extends kind of the period they have right now to win. You know, I'm sure they want to win. They have Marquise Newsom and London Collins this year, but they brought in a lot of incoming freshmen that are like highly touted players around the area. So I think the standard at Newman Gretty is to win a Catholic League championship, and that's never going to change as long as Carl Arragale is there. But I think they could do it this year. They could also do it in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, the last time Newman won was 2022, so this would be a fifth straight year without a championship if they can't do that. The only time else I think we've seen that was the time between 2015 and 2019 where it was Roman Wood, Roman. But I mean, we know the streak Newman went on between 2009 and 2014, winning those six straight. Like Ariel's program has always been in the mix for championships, and I think that you again. I mean, they can beat anyone in the PCL, but especially at home, right? So they're going to be contending. We'll see what the home schedule ends up being for them, but I think that they're going to be a team that's going to be tough to beat, especially if they're get a 4 seed or hosting a quarterfinal game. Let's go next to Archbishop Ryan. We saw them. That was the second last team we saw play yesterday. There's for sure some concerns on them finishing games, but overall, Ryan's offense looks solid.
Yeah, the first two times I saw them, I wasn't as impressed as everyone else, but yesterday changed a lot. They played so much better yesterday than they did against the First Academy in Philly Live. Um, Philly Live won, and then Arts from New Jersey the day before. But yesterday they looked unbelievable. Seth Gay looked like he can be the number one option on a PCL team. He had, I think, 26 points, 8 rebounds, and then they have Jack McMullen and Gavin Capan. They're both probably around 6'4", 6'5", but they're super strong, super athletic. They both rebound well. And I heard people talking about it. Like these guys, they don't really have that many transfers that are starting. Like these guys have waited underneath really good Ryan teams for a while. They've observed, they've been in practice, and like Jeremy Thompson, he's a great player, but he doesn't have that much varsity experience. He's just been patient with the program, and we know what Coach Joe Zaglinski has built that program to be. So with all these program players, I think they're going to be really good.
Right now, if I had to have a dark horse Palestra pick, I think it would be Ryan. Would you agree with that?
I think I would. We've seen Zaglinski get there before. It seems like he has enough to get there this year, and like if they get that 5 or 6 seed, they're 1 game away. So anything can happen.
I think that's something that people need to remember, right? 32 minutes, right? If you get one of those top 6 seeds, you have to play 32 minutes of basketball to get there. And we've seen a lot happen over the thousands of minutes of basketball we've watched, Pat, over the past 2 years. And we know that anyone can beat anyone, any place, anytime in the Catholic League. Let's take it next to my St. Joe's Prep Hawks, a team that I could not be more proud of, man. This group has come together well. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased, so I'll give you the floor here. Thoughts on St. Joe's Prep?
I think the prep looked very, very good this weekend. I was really, really impressed by Justin McKee. I think he has the opportunity to make an all-Catholic team. He can help lead that prep team along with his twin brother, and he's grown since last year. He's stronger. I know Coach Clark always tells you that they've been in the weight room and it kind of shows on the floor. Like the prep was, I think, bigger and stronger than Seton Hall prep. Like I think that's what can kind of help them set apart. They're all really committed to what they're doing. Like you say they're working out pretty much every day, and everyone's bought in that program. So I think it's super impressive what Coach Clark has done in his first year there, and they can definitely be a contender for a Palestra spot.
What do you think about the speed? Because that's the one thing that really impressed me is like we watched, I mean, almost every team, but I don't think there's a team faster than St. Joe Sprout.
Yeah, I think they do play really, really fast, and I think a lot of that is Julian McKee. He's so good at like getting a rebound and then just dotting down the floor super quick. Jaden Howlett runs the floor really well. He's quick. They seem conditioned, so they're not just doing it in the first half, but they're doing it in the second half as well, and it's wearing down other teams.
Yeah, and I think that another guy to talk about, I know you didn't see his big day, but Luke Moransky, 24 points against Christian Brothers. He's had the hot hand since like the summer started. I mean, the improvement from last year to this year is immediately obvious. Looking at the stats from this weekend as I pulled them up, and even from live total, this weekend Luke Moransky averaged 16. He was the leading scorer, tied leading scorer between the two weekends with 13. Justin McKee also had 13 between the two weekends, or tied second leading scorer between the two. Julian McKee, number one, 15.3. Miles Peterson, also a solid contributor. He'll probably end up running that 5 for St. Joe's Prep. Either him or Price Alston will have that spot. But I think the Prep with Price Alston and Atlee Harvey also in that rotation, along with the guys we talked about, I think you're going to see a number of different lineup combos come the winter. I think that versatility is going to be a big help. Let's take it last to Bonner Prendy, Pat. 52-50 loss to St. Joe's from Jersey. St. Joe's we're touching today, yesterday. But playing overall good basketball. We saw how great they were Saturday. What are your thoughts on the Friars?
Yeah, I think they got that win over Bergen Catholic, which I think they were the only team to do that at Philly Live.
Yeah.
So they've been playing really, really good basketball. They beat Bergen and Lakota West, who both came in and gave teams from our area a lot of problems. I don't think their game against St. Joe's Metuchen was the best game we've seen them play. Um, I think the game against Linden was also a little bit similar. So back-to-back games where the offense was a little down, and they almost still found the way to win both, which is going to be important for them. That's what I talked to Coach Cassidy about. Like in a down game, there's going to have to be guys stepping up when Corey's not hitting every shot, when Cam's a little bit off. So I think we saw that. Deshaun Holden had a good weekend from three. He knocked down some shots, and I think who we were probably most impressed with was Russell Eady. He
Yes.
we had that electrifying dunk which turned them on against Linden going into the break, and they pulled away in that game after that. But it's like shocking how ready he is to play varsity basketball for that good of a program, and Coach Cassidy has so much trust in him too.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think one thing about Bonner that I was talking about this morning on the Coach Key podcast was something interesting, which is that I think you pointed out that maybe they struggle a bit against bigger guards when they have to face them. Do you think there's anything to that, or is it just a couple of down games?
I think well, they played against Aiden Carter, who's a four-star from Jersey. He's like a 6'5", 6'6" guard, and he gave them 26 and hit a game winner. So they obviously struggled with him. Not all big guards are going to be as talented as he was. Um, and I think part of that too, like he scored a lot of points, but Corey Francis took a fall. He was out for a little bit of that game. I think we know how good he is offensively, but he's a bigger guard too. He's 6'4", he's filled out, he's a strong player. So I think he's going to be the primary guy guarding those ones. So I don't know. In the PCL, you think of big guards, Rowan Phillips is one of them. I think Caleb Lundy. So if that is going to be a problem, maybe that's going to be interesting against Wood.
But I think we've seen them go up against Caleb before, and we
Hmm.
know that we can go back and watch that tape and see what they tried to do contain him. Obviously, they didn't win that game, but that's something to talk about. let's go out of our Palestra contenders. Those I think are our 6 teams that the ones we talked about that are our contenders at the current moment in time. And let's go to a team that we were down on coming into Philly Live 2 that looked a little bit better, especially down low. Roman Catholic, Sabir Lynn and Shane Jackson doing the dirty work, getting some wins. Dominant from those two this weekend. What do you think of them?
Well, first I want to say I haven't been on as low as them as everyone else has been. I think I had them a little bit higher than everyone else, but no, their front court is really good with Shane Jackson and Sabir Lynn, who's put up some monster offensive performances. In Live 1, Bradley Wanamaker looks like he is going to be their number one scorer, I would think, and he's clearly taken a jump since last year with such a bigger role. There's a few rumors of some transfers coming in, which could definitely help them, but I think right now they look good. They have some young guys, Samaj Warden, probably going to be one of the best 2030s in a few years. But yeah, I think Roman will definitely still contend for the playoffs for sure. And then you mentioned it, like 32 or 64 minutes away from the Palestra. I don't know how likely it is, but it's the Catholic League.
Yeah, that's true. I do think one thing that Roman doesn't have a lot of other programs do is a good home court advantage. And I think that's something that could hurt them this year, especially considering that they don't have, the most talent in comparison to some of these other top teams, right? Because they could rely on that talent to get them wins. But sometimes you need a raucous atmosphere that can get you over the hump a little bit, just energy wise. Right now, I have Roman kind of on that bubble for the play-in. I think honestly, I don't know if you'd agree. I think there are 11 playoff contending teams in this league right now, and I think that Roman is in that somewhere range around 9, 10, 11. I think them and Archbishop Carroll are both there.
I I think O'Hara could be there. I
I agree. I
saw
think like
them.
O'Hara and Egan have potential, but I think I
Yeah.
mean honestly, I'm pretty confident in the 10 I have now. Like Roman, Carroll, Devin, LaSalle, Judge, the Prep, Newman, Ryan, Bonner, Wood, Judge. Right. Like I feel like that group of 10 is pretty solid, but like O'Hara or Egan could have a good season.
Yeah, no. About O'Hara, I saw them play, and Drew Baskerville looks really, really good. He hit 7 threes when I saw them against Central York, and I know like it's not really a fluke. He might be one of the best shooters in the Catholic League already. And over the next 2 years, as he gets bigger and stronger and more adapted to the varsity game, he's going to be definitely a guy to look out for. And then, along with his 24, I think DJ Jones had 21 points. So that's going to be a really good 1-2 punch for them.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think O'Hara has potential. It's just a question about what the rest of the team can do there. We know they beat Archbishop Wood right at home this past year. I think that they could pull off another one of those upsets. And if they can pull off one or two, they can get themselves into the playoffs, at least into the play in, which I think would be a win for O'Hara the last couple years. I mean, this year without Malik Myatt, without Malik Brown, they struggled. And even with those guys, they missed the playoffs. But we saw the talent they had. I think we have another talented group. It's just a question of how they're going to mesh down the stretch. Let's take it next, Pat, to our player standouts. I have a very long list. I don't know if there's anyone you want to add. We'll start 2030 class and work our way up. We talked about Russell Edey earlier. He's my standout for the 2030 class, but I want to ask the question to you about him. How clear above the rest of the list is he as a solidified number one? And how high of a ceiling does he have college prospect wise?
So I think right now he's far and away the best 2030 because of his size. Like, the PCL is known for their guards. Sometimes it takes guards a little bit to get to the level where they can have a big impact in the Catholic League. We've certainly seen it before with guys like Corey Copeland, but I think Russell Edey Jr. is going to be a really special player for Bonner. He's going to keep them good for all 4 years that he's there, assuming he doesn't transfer. But I think his ceiling, um, he's 6'6". He plays like super inside, so at a high major D1 level, like you can't really be a 6'6" center. I think if he grows, he could be that, but I also wouldn't be surprised because he has so much time for him to become like a wing threat, be able to play on that wing, shoot the ball well, and do all of that. So there's so much room for him to be better as a player, even though he's already great. And I think that'll determine like where he wants to be. Does he want to be a post player? Does he want to, bring his game to the mid range, even the 3-point line? I think that could really make him one of the nation's best players.
Nation's best is very high praise, but I think it's warranted right now. Do you think he could develop into a big four?
A big four.
Yeah,
Um,
like a big power forward.
I think he definitely could. I think, watching him this weekend, it kind of looks like he could become whatever he wants. That's how good
That's
I think
very
he
true.
is. The athleticism is clearly there, as that dunk went viral. It turned the game around, but I think it says so much that he's starting on Bonner, who are many people's favorites, and certainly uh, pretty much everyone thinks they're going to be at the Palestra.
Yeah, I'd agree. Any other 2030 guys that you really like this weekend?
Um, I think it was impressive that Tice Harbin was getting time on Father Judge. Samaj Warden was getting time on Roman. So those two guys definitely have high ceilings. I think
Deuce
all
with
three of
Judge at
them.
well.
What?
Deuce with Judges
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
yeah. I forgot. Yeah, Deuce Mead, another really, really good 2030. So those four all play together on team final. So they'll be developing over the next 4 years. Um, yeah, I don't know how I forgot about Deuce Mead, but he's a really special talent. Um, he's like a decent sized guard, so I think he'll have an impact on Father Judge.
Yeah, I agree. 2029. I have three guys on my list. Let's go to Amir Brown to start. It seems like he's developing into a guy who could be the main scorer for New Ready come this season. He could have a big impact alongside Marquise Newsom. Those guys probably going to end up running the 4 and the 5. What do you think about Brown?
Yeah, I think Amir Brown, he's a great shooter. He can get to the rim. He's like we know what he can do on offense. I think I think last year at Judge, Corey Copeland might have had a bigger impact than him, but I think Amir Brown certainly has the highest ceiling in the class of 2029 and will probably have the biggest impact this year. Definitely between him and his former teammate. But also on Newman Gretty, we saw Amari White get in, and he's a guy that, like on a senior-led team, didn't get that much time last year, but I would think he would probably have played on 10 Catholic League teams. He probably would have gotten real time. So I think Newman Gretty has a good pair of 2029s.
Yeah, I agree there. Um, I want to go to my next two guys next, and then I have a question about the entire class. Corey Copeland, Shane Jackson are my next two 2029s that made my standout list. Um, Shane down low again. He's not polished yet, but once he gets polished, he is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And he already is a force to be reckoned with a little bit. But as we see him improve his game, get more experience, he's going to be a very, very special talent. And Corey Copeland, I think we knew he was special from the time we saw him running the point last December. And I think about that Coatesville game when Rocket Westfield was out. What are your thoughts on these two guys and the way that they're developing?
Yeah, I think Shane Jackson could have, if he gets the right supporting cast, as big of an impact as his brothers did at Roman Catholic. So, him, he's seen it for years. He saw Sharif and Sammy win a PCL championship. He's been around basketball his whole life. We all know his dad, Mark Jackson, and he's still very involved with the basketball community. So he's been around the game. He's seen a lot. I think he has a high basketball IQ just because of how much experience he has, even though he doesn't have that much varsity experience. So he's definitely a player to look out for. And then Corey Copeland, we already talked about a little bit, but his handle's really impressive. He finishes so well. And he seems like he has a little bit of a shooter's touch. That game winner um, to beat. Who did they beat yesterday?
They beat Gil St. Bernard's first game, St. John's second game.
Yeah, to beat St. John's. It was like all over the rim, but it dropped in for him. So if he can develop a dangerous outside shot, I think he could be, you know, a Corey Francis, a Caleb Lundy in a year or two.
Before I ask a question of the whole class, what do you expect Copeland's role to be? We saw him running the point a little bit last year. Do you expect to see something similar this year? And if not, what do you see with just him and Rocky Mason back there in the backcourt?
Yeah, I think they're gonna share the backcourt. Rocky Mason, I think, had 5 or 6 assists yesterday, and he's a really scrappy player. But Corey Copeland can certainly do it as well. Um, them two and Nas Tyler, who has so much experience. I think Corey Copeland's probably learning so much from him, which is really good. But he's definitely gonna have like a higher, I guess, usage rate. He's gonna have to score more. They lost 3 unbelievable seniors. They lost Derek Morton Rivera, who would take over games at times. And down the stretch, I'm not saying that we're putting pressure on this sophomore to take over games down the stretch, but he kind of did against St. John's. He looked really
Yeah.
good in those final few minutes. So if he can be like a really good player throughout the game and then that closer that Derek Morton Rivera was, I think that could definitely be his role.
Overall, class of 2029, how many guys do you see as possible high D1 players? Because I think that Brown, Copeland, and Jane Jackson can all go high D1.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Nick Cameron has a high ceiling for Lansdale Catholic. He could definitely do it. Oh, I also wanted to mention before I answer the rest of the question, Cortez Benefield for Lansdale Catholic. He got hurt against Central Dauphin East, but in their first game against Southern Lehigh, he was really, really good for them. So I think we can expect him to have a big impact for the Crusaders this year as well. But I think Nick Cameron could. I think Drew Baskerville. I don't know size-wise where he'll be in a few years, but he definitely can shoot enough to be a high major player. I think he's definitely gonna be a Division 1 player. So I think the class of 29 is a really solid class for the PCL.
Do you think, I mean, which of the classes do you think right now is going to have the most D1 players? I mean, 2027 is going to be a hard group to beat. I know 2026, I think we finished with what, six? 61 guys. Which class do you think is going to produce the most?
Class of 27 looks really good right now. You have Jaden Jenkins, Caleb Lundy, Corey Francis as a really good top three. Nas Tyler, Jeremiah Adediji, these guys are all like there already. Along with Max Okabata, he picked up a D1 offer. I'm probably forgetting guys, I would think.
Yeah,
But
London Collins.
London Collins, Marquise Newson.
Yeah.
So
Um, yeah, I mean, by the way, I missed it. 2026, 8 players. Munchie Wright, Sammy Jackson, Brady McAdams, Derek Morton Rivera, Max Moshinsky, RJ Smith, Rocco Westfield, Kingston Wheatley, the full list there. Are they going to be able to beat 8? I think that's the question.
I think it's possible. I think Xavier Fauntleroy could pick up a D1 offer.
Yes. Yes.
He, we didn't talk about him, but I saw him twice and he looks like he's going to drive the West Catholic offense. He had back-to-back 20-point performances. He can shoot. He's super athletic, so I would not be shocked if he gets an offer. Miles Moore, definitely a guy that could play at the Division 1 level. So it's definitely possible. I think it's going to be very close between them and 26, but I know it's early. I think the class of 2030 with
Yeah.
Edie, all those guys we talked about, they seem to already like like we kind of know they're going to be there. I think Deuce Mead might already have an offer.
He has interest from Villanova. I know that.
So I mean, 2030 is great. 2028, Rowan Phillips, one of the best players in the country. The McKee twins, you know, Aiden Lewis from West Catholic, EJ Stanton. There's, I don't know, the PCL is very balanced, it seems, throughout the classes. But um, yeah, I guess I would, Makai Graves in 2029. He has an offer from New Orleans. There's just so many good. I don't really think I could pick a class that's gonna have the most.
I think honestly, when it comes down to it, like, um, this league is, I mean, it is very under recruited. I don't think there's a doubt about that. But I think that like it's getting to the point where we might have to have a PCLSN watch list for college coaches because the list of talent in this league heading into this year, like last year when I looked at the number 8, it surprised me because I feel like the senior class. I I don't want to say they underperformed, but they underperformed a little bit. And I think in comparison to what we expected, the 2025 class, Jordan Ellerby and Kaveri Kennedy put on an absolute show all season. Ellerby really the regular season, then Kennedy in the playoffs, both spectacular. Everett Barnes, right? Jaron McKee, right? There's a list of guys. Barnes down low is great. And I'm looking, yeah, Sharif Jackson too, Olin Chamberlain. Like that was the list of the 6 they had. But then like Munchie Wright was hurt a good bit last year. You had RJ Smith and Rocco Westfield, who both had high expectations. And RJ Smith had a really rough first half of the Catholic League season, picked it up late. Rocco Westfield didn't regress, but stayed pretty on par with, I mean, a junior season that just down the stretch, he was lights out. He was phenomenal for Judge, especially in that game against the Prep at the Palestra, right? That got him that Merrimack offer. Kingston Wheatley too, you know, he was not suspended, but he missed some games. You know, left games early. I know I think he was suspended, I think, for a little bit of that Prep game, if I'm remembering correctly. So like there are things that happened overall, Pat, but like Derek Morton Rivera is, I feel like him and Sammy Jackson were the real only stars. I think this class in 2027, we have a long list of guys that could be the guy. Same with 2028.
Yeah, right now, like I said, I don't really know who could have the most. I just remembered Cam Jackson, now D1
Yes.
in 27. But I think right now my favorite class is the class of 27. I feel like it's headlined like the best players. I feel like that top 3 of Corey Francis, Caleb Lundy, Marquise Newsom, they all work so hard. They've all been really good to us, PCLSN,
That's very
and
true.
they're just really respectable players, good stars for those teams, and I think it's going to be so fun to see what they do this year. But yeah, I think the class of 27 is probably my favorite class out of the 4 right now. Maybe it's because they're the best, because they're the
Yeah,
youngest.
they're rising seniors.
But yeah, I don't know. I think yeah, it could really go to any of them. Just depends like if guys like Xavier Fonts get offers, if, you know, a few 28s pick up a few offers. I think the class of 27, like Seth Gay had a really good performance yesterday in front of college coaches. Like it wouldn't surprise me if he gets one. But we've also seen the PCL send guys D2 and then transfer up, like Ernest Sheldon from Judge. He's, I think, going to Boston College now, and he used to play
Yeah.
not even D1 basketball. So you talk about under recruited, like maybe some guys from the class of 26, like Deshaun Yates, could work their way up.
That's very true. Let's take it next to the class of 2028. I have 2 guys. I talked about them both. You talked about one of them a little bit. But this backcourt at St. Joe's Prep, Justin McKee, Luke Moransky, is a nasty 1-2 punch. Both can run the point. I think Luke is going to do that a little bit more. Where do you see the D1 interest for these guys going?
Well, we've seen it already for Justin McKee. I think Luke Marineski, he's a little small, but we know how good of a shooter he is. I think if college coaches see the playmaking, like if he becomes like a true, because you have to imagine at the college level, he would have to play point guard. He can't,
Yeah.
like, with his size, that's kind of what would have to happen. But he could clearly be a really strong D2, D3 player. And if he becomes like that true point guard, maybe play for a D1 offer.
Yeah, I could see that. I know he's received some interest. Some calls have been had with coaches from what I've heard. So I think that overall, Moransky is a guy that will end up going D1, especially if he plays as well as I expect him to. 2027, we touched a little bit on Seth Gay and Xavier Fauntroy, so let's take it to the other two. Corey Francis, Sabir Lynn, both had standout weekends. We know about Corey. Do you think he's going to get any more high offers, high major offers before he decides on his commitment?
I kind of do. He's been playing unbelievable lately, and I feel like we saw it once one comes in, coaches start to, you know, I think college coaches, I don't know if this is true, but they seem to be like a little bit competitive. Like once a guy get it's I feel like it's rare for a guy to have one high major offer. There's always
Yeah.
going to be a competition amongst them, and most of them are like former players, so I'm not surprised that they want to compete for guys like that. But yeah, we saw Virginia Tech was at both of his games this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised. It'd be fun to see him in the ACC. It'd be fun to see him in the Big East, as you said, at Xavier.
Yes.
Now Rutgers, Big Ten. So these conferences are starting to collect for him, and I think there will be more. I think there will definitely be more, and I think if he plays it smart, like he's going to maybe wait a little bit. I don't know when he's planning to commit, but if he just gives it, I think even in the next week or two, I don't think he's going to commit. So I think more will definitely roll in.
Yeah. Let's go to Sabir Lynn. I think he has some D1 potential. It might be one of those really late offers that we see towards the start of the senior year. But what do you think about Lynn?
Yeah, I think he has rare size. He moves really well, and like I think some coach is gonna get a steal. To be honest, he was hurt for his junior season when his I feel like most of the recruitment happens. So I think whoever identifies him as a guy that they want, which I think could easily happen in the coming days, is going to get a steal of a big man in Sabir.
No doubt. Let's play. This is very impromptu. This is not on the script, but let's play a little bit of a game here because we were talking about commitments. Um, I'm gonna go through the high D1 guys with high D1 offers right now who are 2027s. Let's crystal ball them, Pat. Let's give our predictions on where they're gonna go. Now, I want some context for everyone. We have absolutely zero inside knowledge here. This is purely our opinion. I want that disclaimer out there. Let's start with Corey Francis. If you had to choose a place for him to go, where are you going?
Um, hmm. I know this might be what you're gonna say. I think it'd be cool if he ended up at Xavier. I think he's like this is your words pretty much, but I think he's a Big East player. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Xavier all the way here. I think that he'd be a really fun guy. I mean, we see Jordan Ellerby in the Big East right now. That's the only guy I can think of off the top of my head in the conference. I'm checking right now to see who I'm missing, if anyone here. Yeah, right now it is. Oh, Bug Clark, Seton Hall.
Oh yeah. No,
If
he
he's still
transferred to Ole Miss.
okay, almost then. The list needs a little bit of updating. So yeah, him and Jordan would be the only two there. So yeah, that's that's what I would have there. I think that he is a Big East type guy. Let's go Marquise Newsom next. I know where you want him to go. Where do you think he's going to end up?
I think he's gonna go to St. Joe's. I think he's gonna stay local. I know you said we don't have any inside information, and I don't, but I go to a lot of St. Joe's games, and he's frequently there.
Not the
He's
only
been
PCL
on,
guy frequently me there. I want that known.
yeah, no, but he's definitely a target for them. He would be. I think when players stay home, it's just really cool for everyone, including them. Their families get to see them play a lot of their games, and I think St. Joe's would be a good landing spot for him because does he have high major D1 offers? Yes. Would he get time there with them targeting upperclassmen in the portal? Maybe not. So if he can come into a program like an A10 program, we've seen this. Guys like to come into the A10. They play really good for a year or two, and then they get that call to come up to the high major level, and that's when you can start getting time there. So I think it'd be a really good spot for him. On that note, like Xavier Brown, we saw did that from St. Joe's. Now he's at Oklahoma, and he's one of the best guards in the SEC. Sammy Jackson, if he has a good freshman year, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him at a bigger program than that. So I think Marquise Newsom will end up a Hawk.
I'm gonna agree with that. Let's go to another guy who I'll go ahead and say it. I'm picking to be a Hawk. I'm gonna go Caleb Lundy, St. Joe's U. What do you think?
I don't really know. I think it would have been. I wonder what would have happened if he was healthy at Philly Live. I wonder if he
Yeah,
brings
that's what
in
I was thinking too.
some of the. We saw what happened for Corey Francis. I just would have. I don't know if it would have, but I think it would have been great. I think he deserves it more than anyone. He works super hard. He's a really nice guy and everything, but um, I wouldn't be surprised if he stayed local too. He was on a visit to West Virginia, so I'm sure there's a little bit of high major interest. I could see him at Temple. I could see him at St. Joe's. He has the Towson offer. Towson's been great recruiting around here with Monty Sajid and Munchie Wright, so maybe there. I don't know.
I don't mind the Towson pick. I like that. I'm a fan of that. Last but certainly not least, Jaden Jenkins. This is, I think, the toughest to pick. What's your thought here?
I know it's a new offer, but I hope this isn't recency bias. I think Michigan State, like, if you have Tom Izzo coming to your game, there must be a lot of interest. Tom Izzo, like, he traveled all the way. We saw him go to the Wood game and then he left, I
One
think.
game
So,
for
yeah, Jaden
for
Jenkins.
Jaden Jenkins. Maybe we see Rowan getting on. Maybe like Jaimin from St. John's. I'm not sure if he has a Michigan State offer. But like only three guys on the floor who it would make sense to offer right now. Maybe like a Kareem Smith Bay, maybe a fourth from St. John's. But yeah, I think Michigan State is the pick here.
And there is, Xavier is there, Seton Hall. I think he might have Villanova. So
He does, yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up in the Big East. That'd be, I think, a good spot for him. But he has Ohio State, Georgia. He can play pretty much wherever he wants in the country, it seems like.
I could see West Virginia too.
Hmm.
I could see
Oh,
him
big,
going big,
yeah,
going
totally.
Big 12. Yeah. So that's it for our. Or do you have any other standouts you want to talk about?
Um, about Max Okabata from LaSalle had a really good weekend. He plays with such great athleticism, and I know you um like leadership's so important in the Catholic League, and he's really stepped up as leader for LaSalle. Like when they were down 19 to Cathedral Prep, he was still clapping, getting his teammates ready for the comeback. So he really impressed me, both like off the court and on the court. And I think he's such a great defender. Like he guarded Nico Antoniacci, and Nico had 21. Obviously, they weren't all against Max, but Like this is a guy that probably averages in the 30s. So really, I think LaSalle did a pretty good job on him, and a lot of it was Max Ogabada right in his face. So I think he was definitely a standout for me.
No doubt. We got a comment here about the two live periods, top five 2029s. It's tough to make a list, but I think Brown, Copeland, Jackson immediately are jumping out to me. We'll have a list on Instagram soon. I'm guessing, Pat, probably after we finish this up, we're going to be talking about that, or at least this week talking about it. So yeah, I think that I mean, I don't know if there's anyone you want to add to that list, but I think whoever we have in that list when we post it, well deserved.
And I think all the guys in our top five last time will definitely be in contention again.
Yeah.
Baskerville, Nick Cameron. I know there was a few comments that we missed Amari White, which um, he might have done enough this weekend. It's our whole staff that votes on it, I think, or not our whole staff, but us, a few more people. Um, so I don't know. It's kind of unpredictable, but
Yeah.
as you said,
Yeah.
there will be a list soon. So I guess we'll
Maybe it's
see.
a top 10 for the class of
Maybe it
2029 now.
is.
Like
Maybe it
there
is.
there are a lot of options we have
Yeah.
to go with here. Um okay, let's go to I think the most exciting part of the show, the last part of the show. Which is our way too early picks. Let's start, Pat. We're going to do five things. We'll do coach of the year, most improved player, MVP, Palestra, champion. I gave out my Palestra picks earlier this morning, but yours are still unknown at the current moment in time to the great people watching. Coach of the year. I think this might be an indicator of who we're picking as champion, depending on how things roll. Usually, it feels like at least top seed. The top seed's coach usually wins it. Who's your pick here?
I kind of think it's going to be Billy Cassidy at Bonner. They gave it to Moscow last year, and I think those two teams are going to have the best records. So maybe they give it to Coach Cassidy. He's been another guy that's been great to us. So I would be very happy for him if he won it, and definitely wouldn't be surprised if he won it. I would think he's probably him or Moscow has to be the favorite.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. I think there's a great
Oh,
argument for Rowntree at Judge.
I think as a LaSalle, I think Chris Clark could definitely
Yeah,
win it. Yeah.
yeah. I think that the argument for Chris Clark is the turnaround, right? Taking a team
Uh-huh.
that was completely gutted, right? Only brought back, right? You lose Olin, Jordan, Jaron, Mackay. You lose 4 of your 5 starters. You bring back Will Lesovitz and Julian McKee as the only guys who had meaningful minutes the year before. So I think that that's something that's huge. And from Clark to take them um, from, with only 2 real returning contributors to take them from into the playoffs, obviously lost to West Catholic, but finished with the number 8 seed, and then to get them possibly to the Palestra, right? If they finish with the top 4 seed, I think he's a great pick. Chris Rowntree, I think you can have a great argument for just off the fact that, if they're top 2 seed, Judge could be in a position to three-peat. And then Coach Cassidy, this is his ride, last ride with this group of seniors. So I think it could be similar to 2025, Jason Harrigan winning it. With that, and then Moscow, as always in the running for it. I think those are kind of the cases for each of them.
And I think we always have to mention Coach Arigale. Like
Exactly.
he's
Yeah.
he's too great not to put in the conversation. So even Zaglinski, like if Ryan gets that 5 seed or even jumps up to the 4 seed with an upset, it could really be anyone, to be honest.
It could be. I agree. This one's tough, but let's go. Most improved player. Who's your pick going to be right now for that?
Hmm. So I have a few. I think Corey Copeland could definitely be in that conversation. I think Bradley Wanamaker, He's gonna have such a big role on Roman. He could. And I think hmm, Nick Lugendo at Carroll. They lost so much. He's gonna be the number one option now. So maybe that.
Yeah, I mean, biased, but I think Luke Moransky should be in the conversation. Um, I think if he goes from 3.5 points a game to 12, 13 points a game, you have to consider that. But I agree with everyone you said. I think Copeland, Amir Brown, right, could be a guy if he leads Newman in scoring. Let's say he averages 17, 18 a game somehow, he could be there. If Seth Gay goes on a great run and has 16 points plus, I think you could argue him. Also, if he can have a good high clip of assists. So yeah, I think there's a list of guys. Xavier Fauntroy too, who we talked about. But it's biased. But I think my pick would have to be Moransky if I had to pick one now. Who would
I
your
could
pick be
definitely
if you
see
had
it.
to do one?
I don't have the stats pulled up, but you mentioned it. I kind of now that you said it, I think Xavier Fauntroy. I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised if he's
averaged
over
5 last
15 a
year.
game. Yeah, if
Yeah,
he's over
that
15 a game, which he definitely
that's an
could be
easy
the way
pick.
he can score. Yeah.
Yeah, him and Aiden Lewis are going to be really fun to watch. I'm excited to
hmm
see that 1-2 punch. Next, this is interesting. MVP, most valuable player. I think we all kind of had the thought of, okay, well, it's either Corey, Caleb, or Marquise, but Rowan Phillips throwing a wrench in that idea. How are we feeling about MVP?
Yeah, I think it's still gonna be Corey. I think Rowan is a great player. But like that was his production without Caleb Lundy. Caleb Lundy. This is not saying that Caleb Lundy's a selfish player, but he's gonna want the ball. He's gonna want to score too. So not that Rowan Phillips is gonna get worse once Lundy's back, but he might not have to have 30 points to for Archbishop Wood to win a game. Um, I think Corey, like, he's the clear number one option on Bonner. I think Lundy and Rowan, like, 1A, 1B, however you want to put it. Like, it could be either way there. So if they, I don't know if one of them could be good enough, not good enough to win it, but like, I feel like with the MVP, people are always going to look at stats. I think Corey's going to have the best numbers, and I think it's hard not to give it to the reigning MVP for a second straight year in high school, especially.
I would agree. My pick is Corey Francis. I think that I mean he won just about every award he could win this year, except for Gatorade Player of the Year, which of course went to Colton Hiller. So Corey, I think, is the simple pick here to go with. Palestra picks. I gave my four earlier this morning. It's Bonner, Wood, Judge, the prep. I do think Bonner will finish with that top seed. I do. Wood and Judge 2-3 is really tough. I think I'll give the 2 to Wood and then 3 to Judge, 4 to the prep. Pat, where are you going here?
I would go 1 Wood, 2 Bonner, 3 Judge, and 4 Newman Grady.
Wow, Newman Goretti sliding in.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's sliding in. I think they're a clear top five team in the league. Um, I don't know. I think Marquise Newsom, he has a sour taste in his mouth from last year, lost in the championship, so he's gonna want to at least be back at the Palestra, if not the championship. Aragel, we've seen do it so many times. And then Amir Brown, he won a championship. He wants to do that again. So I think Newman Grady always has to be in the conversation. I think they're going to do it again.
Okay, those are our Palestra picks, but Pat, our champion, way too early at 2027. Your champion is.
Mm. I think Father Judge.
Wow.
Yeah, I think they're going to three-peat. You know, I think the Bonner story with this class of 27 is great, but I think Nas Tyler is the best winner in the PCL right now. So him, Rayzon Harris is gonna. Oh, he could be the most improved player too.
I agree with that. That's a great take.
So him, Jeremiah, Corey. I think Judge has a really strong chance to win it. They all know how to win, you know. So I think I'm gonna, even though I don't know, I don't think they'll be the one seed necessarily, but I think they will win the Palestra.
Yeah. That would be the first three-peat since Newman Goretti's six-peat I talked about earlier, 2009 through 2014. Of course, we know that Coach Rowntree was an assistant under Coach Moscow, who was an assistant under Coach Argale, who was an assistant under Speedy Morris, or played for Speedy Morris at least. I think he was an assistant. So the trend goes on and on there of coaches who were Rowntree very quickly putting himself in, cementing himself in PCL history with his back-to-back. A 3P would for sure do that all time. It's the fun pick. It's the easy pick. Bonner Prendy, Pat. Corey Francis is going to get the job done. We talk about sour taste in his mouth for Marquise Newsom. Corey Francis is going to have that. That charge call was an absolute heartbreaker for Bonner. And you know that they are going to have as good a fan base. I mean, it's Judge. Judge, I think, is the best fan base in the PCL, but Bonner is not far behind, just off of numbers of people who show up to their games. Bonner has an incredible base of alumni right now who have shown out in the states. The states games we were there for the Upper Dublin game, and they were there in good numbers against Springfield Delco. They were there in good numbers.
Well,
And at the
at Upper
Palestra,
Dublin,
go
we
ahead.
were on the wrong side for the Upper
We
Dublin
were,
game.
we were. The Upper
Yeah.
Dublin fans were causing a little bit of a ruckus with the refs. At the Palestra, you were there. How good were the Bonner fans in comparison to the Judge fans for semifinals?
I think it was close. I think losing Derek Morton Rivera's family, maybe they'll still show up. But we know they were
Maybe.
super fans this year for Father Judge. But no, the support will definitely be there for both of them. It's hard to pick a favorite fan base. It's just cool how much support alumni have for the Catholic League. It matters so much to the Philadelphia community, and it's amazing to see how many people fill the cathedral come the semifinals.
Absolutely. Folks, in tomorrow, not in a few hours, but tomorrow, we will have our team rankings coming out. Very excited about that. Check Instagram tomorrow afternoon for that. Pat, I'm guessing at some point this week we'll have prospect rankings out, right?
Hopefully.
That will be a fun discussion for us to have off the air of who's making it. If you have any thoughts on what we should do, top 10s, top 15s, maybe, right? Whatever you all think, we would love to hear your thoughts. Pat, any final message to the people before we get off?
Well, I know we put it in our wrap, but thank you to Coach Moscow, Coach Noble, and Mrs. Townsend for having us at both Philly Lives. All the staff was very welcoming to our whole staff, so it was a great event for us to cover.
I was going to say the same. We had a great time. We had a lot of fun. Thank you to Nepa Hoops. Appreciate it. Shout out to those guys. They do great work. But yeah, very, very happy with Philly Live. We had a great time. I mean, we were talking, Pat, about going, after graduation just as fans to watch, right? Because these are it's such a fun event, such a great time. The amount of great people you get to talk to and meet, all the college coaches we got to chat with, all the fans talking to parents and family members and friends, coaches of the high school teams as well, getting to chat with them. So yeah, shout out to all the great guys, our shuttle drivers, the guys at the front door who gave me some crap for being a prep guy. Had a Newman guy there at the front desk. So yeah, everyone had such a great time. We loved it, and we're excited to be back next year. Hopefully, we're gonna have a great time next summer doing it again. After this week, our basketball coverage will be pretty much done until November. So gonna miss that. But stay tuned. We've got some great football stuff. Stick around for that. And yes, Pat, keep that like healthy. Um, but yeah, very excited for football season. Pat and I will have many debates over Prep and LaSalle, who will be playing the weekend of October 9th or 10th. Very excited for that. So yeah, thank you all for watching as always, and we will see you soon.